Today we're going to have a lab exercise as normal, which is going to be about texture loading and creating some animations. So we'll get to that afterwards. But first we're going to quickly go through the first assignment. Is there an echo in here? No, okay. Sounds like an echo from here. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to look at the first assignment, some tips and tricks, and if you have any questions, we can answer that as well. And I'm going to quickly demo again the Pac-Man result that we had last year. So, as you've probably been told already, the assignment is going to be a 2D Pac-Man game, where you should be able to have regular gameplay flow, where you are in a menu, you can navigate to the exit, collect orbs, crates, or fruit, and avoid the ghost and try not to be killed. So basically you're going to try to recreate Pac-Man as authentically as possible, or you can, take it away and make it crazy and add power-ups or other fancy features that you may want to include. But the core idea is that it's of course the rendering focus, to be able to render the map, render the sprites, animate Pac-Man, and have transitions between menus and the game itself. So in the repository you'll have a couple of files up front. So one of the first requirements is to be able to read the map layout and render it on the screen. So in the levels folder of the repository that you will be forking, there's a level here which basically says, so this is the format you will be parsing in order to render the level. Based on what's here, you should be able to see what it represents, like 1 sub wall or 0 is nothing. You're allowed to modify the format a little bit. For example, if you want to add numbers 2, 3, or 4 or other meanings, you can do that if you feel like it adds to the gameplay. And you can imagine what that is. So try to infer the coding, but I kind of gave it away. Walls can be a fixed color of your choice, or you can add sprites or details for that if you want. So that comes later with optional features. You should have a menu that allows you to start and exit the game, so there should be a main menu. Basically, you can navigate it with keyboard arrow keys, and pressing the escape key will get you back to the menu with either basically a pause menu. So you should have a pause menu, a main menu, and a game at minimum. You'll have to keep track of the player score, which should be visible during the gameplay, and you'll show it on the main screen when you win or die. So basically, if you die, you get your score. If you win, you also get your score. You should include collectible items that add to the player's score. So that's basically the food or the power-ups, such as the ghost killer food. So if you eat it, you can kill ghosts. Or the fruits that give extra points. Or you can add your own power-ups and make it your thing, as long as it follows, it's recognizable as basically Pac-Man with more shit. And then the ghosts should be moving around the map, and touching them you should lose health, and if you lose enough health you die. So the ghosts do not need to have advanced AI for the basic functionality, but they should be moving around. And you need to use OpenGL in 2D with C++, GLFW with the window handling, and if you plan to use anything else, please discuss it first. And in addition to functionality, their professionalism will also be graded, because it's a second-year course, so you're supposed to be able to organize yourself and start, now that you've done coding for at least a year, you should be able to reason more about professional workflow, or like committing off and using issues, branching, and be able to resolve issues like that, not only on the programming level, but also be able to reason about your choices and how you approach the work. So you should try to make your code modular and make it reusable, split code into header files and source files, and be able to, if you're making decisions that deviate from the requirements, you should be able to say what is the reason you did it and why it would be better or worse, or for example, if you did it for performance or memory reasons. So you can deviate as long as you give us a good reason for it and show that you thought about why you made the change. And you should make the code readable as possible and have comments where needed to clarify any function purpose. You don't have to comment like assigning to a variable, for example, because that makes sense. But if it's like a complicated statement or a set of optimized code, that's hard to read because it's very optimized and might not be obvious. You should document those especially. Yeah, for versioning, that's basically when you use version control like Git, you should be able to commit early, commit often, so that merge conflicts are reduced when you finally merge, or use branches if it makes sense. Depending on the size of your team, you might just commit to master. But you will be working in at least pairs of 2 or 3. If you really want to, or feel like you're up to it, you can do it individually.
Yeah.
But we would recommend that you do at least like a pair assignment. It's also going to be better for, getting used to work with Git with somebody else. And then you can also add optional features for bonus marks, so you can take it as far as you like, basically. So you can add high scores, you can add audio to your game, use sprites for items and also ghosts. Initially, you're only required to have sprites for Pac-Man and have him animated. But if you also add it for like the items and the walls and the ghosts, that's a bonus. Add multiple levels so you can progress through the game. Or make better AI, basically, so they follow Pac-Man, or maybe have line of sight so they can't see him all the time. And then also any other feature that you think will be fun or just challenging, and make sure you show that off during the presentation though, so we actually know you added something, because if you don't, then we might not figure out you added something. So to start, you basically have to fork the repository that's linked here, which is the one I showed you here. You'll have all the assets that you need to get started. So it's basically just a sprite sheet, which is the one you'll be using for animation and Pac-Man. And it's the level format I just showed earlier. So that's basically what you're supposed to do. I will show you what we did last year to be more clear about this. And basically, the submission deadline is going to be March 3rd.
March, yep. I'll update it.
Yeah, beginning of March should be updated to 3rd of March, and the presentation will be either on the Thursday or the Tuesday after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can decide on that later.
Yeah, basically. To allocate, and basically, the commit you have at the deadline is the one that's going to be graded. So if you commit stuff after the deadline, it's not going to be considered part of the submission. Basically make sure that you got everything ready and working and compiling by the deadline. To allocate your groups, there's in the wiki there's a assignment 1 group allocations section, and under this is where you'll put in your groups. So basically, you edit this table following this format, typing your new username. You give your group a name and post a link to your repo. And so basically, put your groups in here. Just edit the page, add your username, group name, and repository URL, and then we'll be able to see the groups. Yes. So that's any questions about the assignment so far? No. Should be pretty clear. Yeah. So once you've added the groups, you can do that. Do it as soon as possible, as soon as you know the group, so you don't forget about it later. So yeah, as I showed you, these are the assets that you'll be starting with, and let's clarify a little bit more about the requirements. Now I need to restore. Sorry about that. Making some changes here. currently restored voltage changes. So meanwhile, I'll just look at the lab for this week as well. So this week's lab is about texture loading, which coincidentally you're going to work with in the assignment as well. So basically your task is to be able to load a cat texture onto a quad, and you're also going to do some shader editing today, so you can get used to working with shaders, which you'll have to write for Pac-Man. So basically you'll end up with a cat texture quad, and then you'll put the cat on the quad texture and animate it. And then if you have time as well, there's another sprite in the resource folder which is basically an animated sprite sheet, so you'll be able to try to load some animations as well if you have time for it. But if not, you should anyway try to do that at home, because you'll need it for the assignment. So yeah, that's building. I think you guys should start with the lab while I figure out why this doesn't compile, because it compiled last week, or when I showed it earlier. So I'll get back to you